Welcome, everybody, to the Sheridan Report. The Sheridan Report is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. If you go to MyBookie.ag, you can use the promo code TGT100 to get a 100% deposit up to $300 on your first deposit. You can also go to thegruelingtruth.com and click on the MyBookie banner at the top of the page. I am your co-host for the Sheridan Report, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I want to welcome in Bobby Sheridan. How you doing, Bobby?
Mike Goodpasser. I couldn't be doing any better. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Let's start with the NBA, Bobby. What you got tonight in the NBA?
Hey, the NBA, Mike, it's great drama, every year around the playoffs. And they provided a bunch more for us last night with the best player leaving and then Houston acting like they didn't want to win. So that's okay. We get Game 7. Houston did enough to cover. And that was good for us. We had a big bet on Houston plus the 6, but we also had a big bet on the money line. So it wasn't a fun ending when their best player decided he's not even going to shoot the last 8 minutes, and point guard decides he's going to turn the ball over. And look, I'm happy that Golden State showed the heart that they did, and were able to pull it off with their mainstays, Curry and those guys, but Houston didn't even play their style at all the last 8 minutes, and it was bothered me to watch it a little bit, but that's okay. We move on to the next day. We had a winner for you. It was a max bet top play. It was the most money I've put on a game all year in terms of the point spread. So, how can you bicker about that? But we've got 2 games today, Mike, that are very interesting games, and I have an opinion in both. The first game, the Raptors go to Philadelphia. The Raptors are trying to wrap this up. They're favored by 2. And, they're coming off of a dominating performance in Game 5, but slow down for a second here, the Toronto people. And that's because all you read about is about how they shared the basketball and how it wasn't any one person that led us, meaning Kawhi. It was our whole team, and it was a team effort, and we had all these guys in double figures, and we this and we that. Well, you know what? That's very easy to do when you're front running. When you're at home, got the crowd behind you, you have a team that Philadelphia was a shell of themselves in Game 5. They could sense that early. And that's really easy to do. Let's see him do it again. Let's see him go down to Philadelphia and have that same everything is great mentality, and we're great, and we're going to share the ball, and we're going to do this against a team who's got a lot of pride, who psychologically and mentally is totally together for this game. They're not crushed by that at all. It's one game. They got blown out, and they played poorly, but it's one game. And they're going to come home today and respond to criticism. All of a sudden everybody wants to get on Embiid. Now it's not his injuries, it's his head, and it's he's out partying with Allen Iverson, and he's this and he's that. All that guy's done has been a warrior for them, playing through injuries. He'll show up. And here's the big one tonight. Here's the X factor. Ben Simmons. Don't hear too much about him except that he doesn't shoot much, or can't shoot, or whatever you hear about his shooting or scoring or whatever. But he is a great player. He does all the other things on the court, and when Philadelphia is winning, you don't hear anything. They have a bad game, play poorly, and all of a sudden it's making fun of him. This guy's an all-star. He this, he that. Watch Ben Simmons have 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists tonight. That's how these guys do it. They respond to criticism. So I think Philadelphia plus 2 points at home. Remember, Game 4, they were -2 to go up 3-1. What's changed? A couple bad games. They're down 3-2, and they're getting 2 points at home. A lot of people are quick to react, and the Vegas point spreads have to be quick because they know people flip-flop. And now all of a sudden Toronto's the next best thing since sliced bread, and they have to make Philadelphia an underdog, and this is where the professionals come in and take the value. So the bottom line is I like Philadelphia plus 2 tonight, Mike, in that game.
All right, Bobby. Denver, Portland.
Well, we go to Denver, Portland. Now, this one's a little bit of a different egg. but we got the same scenario in terms of the same conclusion is what I should say. It's a different egg, different scenario, same conclusion. Portland's going to win this game tonight, Mike, and they're going to force Game 7, just like Philadelphia is going to force Game 7. We're going to have a trifecta of the NBA on Sunday. We're going to have 3 Game 7s when Houston wins tomorrow night at home, which that line is already up to 7, going 7.5, 8. That thing's going to end at 8, maybe 8.5. I feel that Houston will easily win that game on Friday. And we'll have 3 Game 7s on Sunday, and that's Portland needing to win tonight at home. And, you know, Mike, not to overthink this series too much. Going into this series, I felt that Lillard and McCollum, that backcourt, was going to be the dominant duo in this series because they have been a lot this year for that team. And they have 6, 7 other guys that are pretty good players. Against Denver's Jokic and Murray. I have a lot of questions about Murray going into this series, his consistency, and they all were granted. They all were warranted questions. Jokic is a star player, but what's he ever done in the playoffs? These were going into the series. Now, Denver has proven more through 5 games because Jokic has proven to be a star player who can lead them. And Murray has been very consistent. And who's been inconsistent has been the consistent ones, McCollum and Lillard. Lillard is the king of that franchise. He hits the half-court shot or the whatever 35-footer to win the OKC series, and he goes off for 39 in Game 1 at Denver. And what's he done since? He shot 7 for 32 on threes. McCollum's 5 for 15 last game when they needed him. They've had in-and-out performances from a lot of their front court guys, and there's been a lot of questions. But with all that being said, keep it simple. It's Jokic and Murray for the most part against McCollum and Lillard. And Jokic and Murray has won this battle 3 out of 5 times. Game 6 tonight, I think Lillard and McCollum come home and they win the battle. That's it. I don't take it any further than that. I think Portland's the top play tonight. They're going to win this game tonight. They're going to figure out enough stuff and get enough production from the other people off the bench to force a Game 7 and make Denver prove it back at home. So I like Portland. I like Philadelphia. I like both home teams tonight, Mike.
All right, Bobby. You want to go to the NHL a little bit?
I do, Mike. Don't we have a new series starting tonight?
Yeah. We have 2 new series starting over the next few days, and it's Carolina-Boston. The Blues will travel to San Jose to take on the Sharks. I don't know. I think when I look at this, I would stay away from Boston-Carolina tonight. I kind of favor Boston in the first game just because I think they're red hot. Their goalie's hot. So I have a tendency to think Carolina may have a really good shot to win this series, but I don't think that I would touch this game tonight, Bobby.
Well, you know, Mike, we talked a little bit about that before. I know that you like Carolina just based on, I think, listening to some of your analysis about, don't you have Carolina maybe winning the whole thing?
Not the whole thing. I think the Blues win the whole thing.
Oh.
The Blues in Carolina, what we did to pick there.
Right.
I think all 4 teams left are capable of it. I think out of all 4 teams left, if they all play as well as they can, I think the Bruins are the best team.
Okay.
But the Bruins have not been real consistent this year, and my only worry right here is that now they're kind of getting in a groove, and it kind of scares me off here, and I don't want to bet the Bruins because it's plus 160 or minus 160. Carolina's plus 135. If you put a gun to my head and make me bet 1, I'd probably take the plus 135, but I think Boston wins tonight.
Okay. So if Boston wins tonight, would you be looking to maybe take Carolina Game 2? Are you thinking they can split this?
It's according how the game is played tonight. That's my thing. Because usually I'll bet it, especially if I got a take on it. But I have a lot of questions coming into this series. Where tomorrow, with the Blues and Sharks, or Saturday, Blues and Sharks, I kind of have the same questions. So I think on both series, I may wait and see how the first game plays out.
Okay, you know what? That's always good strategy, Mike.
Plus, the thing is this: if the home team wins, Game two, you're probably going to get a plus 140, 145 for the Hurricanes, and that Blues is probably going to jump up to plus 125.
Oh yeah, your value will get even bigger if the home teams both win, and especially if they win sort of impressively. If I'm Mike Goodfaster, then I want to see Boston and San Jose have strong home wins.
Yes.
And then you can come back with both dogs with a good value. That would be what I would want to see if you're looking to play the dog in one of these
That's
first
what
two
I am
games.
kind of thinking is going to happen. So that's why I would wait.
Okay. That sounds good to me, Mike.
Major League Baseball, Bobby.
Major League Baseball. Well, this is very, very interesting. Just a little side note here. The Giants are in Colorado, Mike, and they're kind of my de facto team just because, a lot of the fans know I played for Bruce Bochy, and I know him and a lot of the San Diego people back from those days, San Diego, now it's San Francisco. And so I kind of root for them. And they're in Colorado, Mike, in Denver, and it's 32 degrees. and they're trying to play a game today at noon, which will be at 3:00 Eastern, so in another hour. And I went on Twitter and I saw Colorado's Twitter feed and said, well, our latest update is we have baseball things going on the field, and it's 34 degrees. Can you imagine trying to play that ball game today? Oh my gosh! It was snowed out yesterday, or snow flurries, and 28 degrees yesterday. So I just feel bad for those guys today, but thank God that's all over with, and they'll get out of there today. And hopefully they don't have to play. But that's a 12:00 game. We don't have a selection there. Another tidbit is Buster Posey went on the disabled list for concussion, 7 days, concussion protocol type thing. So that's a big loss for the Giants. And we talked about their hitting. I saw a stat not too long ago on Twitter. When I say not too long ago, like within the last hour, Mike, they're hitting 420 with runners in scoring position over the last 10 days. So this is a team that you've heard us kind of be on, but for good reason. Their offense is swinging the bat pretty well now. But we're not going to play today. Let's get to the games that we are going to play, which that's all that really matters. We got 3 mix and match, 3-team parlay. The mix and matchers, which would be your favorites that I think we can mix and match with and put with a top play or put with something you like, or buy them all together in combination and make a 3-team parlay. And those 3 teams today, we have one started already this morning. That's the Indians at 10-10. That was one of them that already started. And then we'll go on with the Yankees at 335 and the Braves at 640. And the Braves line has really come down. That'll be the ending of that 3-teamer if that's alive. And that was about a 115 last night minus. And they've come down to where they're now only about minus 105. So they haven't gotten the action there. Arizona's got the action. But I like the Braves leaving Dodger Stadium and going into Arizona where they played really well. So I think they'll get back on track. So that's the 3. So here are the 3 straights tonight, Mike. Our first one, and I'll go over it, is the top play. This is the Pirates going to St. Louis. Joe Musgrove. You can get about plus 129 or so with the Pirates with Joe Musgrove going into St. Louis to go against Michael Wacha. And Michael Wacha has struggled with his control, Mike. He is not the pitcher he was a couple of years ago when he burst onto the scene as a young pitcher for them. And the Pirates have gotten, you take away one outing from Joe Musgrove, and he's one of the best right-handers in the league so far this season. He's pitched tremendously. Pittsburgh tonight has their bullpen lined up with Crick and Vasquez to back him. So I really feel like this is probably the strongest pitching matchup of the 3-game series that the Pirates will enjoy. So I like them tonight, Mike. St. Louis just came off of a 3-game series where they fared very poorly offensively. The top of their order is not swinging the bat. And Ozuna kind of carried them and their shortstop, DeJong. And all of a sudden, he stopped swinging last series. So they're having some trouble swinging the bat right now. So they're good time to try to beat them. So I like Pittsburgh. We move on. We've got 2 more straight plays. We got the Rangers and the Reds. And 2 more straight plays. And I'll give you the Reds first because that game's at 12:37 going on here in a little over an hour. And that's the final of that series in Oakland. And they've had a couple tough losses. And I think they're going to get today's game, Mike. Today the Reds are going to throw Tanner Roark. And it's one of those deals where these 2 teams played last night, 13 innings. And both bullpens are totally utilized, for the most part, totally utilized. Oakland got like trying him back, and he threw 2 innings in his first game coming back. Well, so it's going to come down to starting pitcher giving him some innings. I think Tanner Roark is more than capable of doing this, more than capable of bulldogging a win for them. He's a veteran in the major leagues. He knows these kind of situations, and he's going to outpitch Chris Bassett tonight, who's a lesser heralded, lesser experienced pitcher. And I think he may feel the pressure of having to give his team a long outing. So I like Cincinnati, and I think they'll score some runs today, finally, in that series. And then our last game we've talked about this pitcher a lot this year, Mike Minor and the Texas Rangers. This is going to be a great game tonight. This is probably be, to me, the game of the day to watch. Mike Minor goes into Houston against Wade Miley, so we got 2 lefties tonight. And Mike Minor is a star pitcher, along the same lines of Boyd last night for Detroit. He was our top play. You mentioned that last night, how I like Boyd. Mike Minor's just like him last night, just like Boyd, and he'll be a guy that is talked about a lot at the trade deadline. We've mentioned that a few times. I'm going to mention it again because people need to realize that this is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's going to go to Houston tonight and give them a lot of trouble. And so I think Texas at that price at plus 148 has a really good chance to win that ball game tonight and take a game in this series. So there's our baseball, Mike.
All right. What do you want to do for on this day, Bobby?
On this day, we've got, today's a birthday. We don't talk about birthdays all that much, but there's one birthday today I want to bring up. Mike, Calvin Murphy turned 71 today. And I want you to talk a little bit about Calvin Murphy.
Yeah, Calvin Murphy is the shortest NBA player in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He is the shortest to play in an NBA All-Star game. The thing that was interesting to me was this. He was a world-class baton twirler. He had like 6 sisters who were all twirlers. And he actually, I think, won like the Texas State Men's Twirling Championship, which I wonder how many Texas men were in the twirling championship in the 60s and 70s.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think that ABC's Wild World of Sports actually showed one of those competitions where he won it. He went on to attend Niagara University, was a great player there. He led Niagara to the NCAA tournament and actually advanced to the second round where they lost to Villanova, I think, in 1970. And then that was also the same year Pete Maravich, Rick Mount were also All-Americans. So the 3 of them were on. They actually called those 3 the 3 M's. He was drafted by the San Diego Rockets, who, of course, would become the Houston Rockets. And I think he's best known outside of the baton twirling would be for his free throw shooting. I mean, he's one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. Set the record for a single season. I think he set the record for a career. And we talked before about the 1981 NBA Finals where the Rockets were like the 8th seed, snuck into the playoffs, upset the Los Angeles Lakers. They used to have a mini-series, best 2 out of 3. They won 2-1, won the 3rd game at the Forum, ended up beating Sacramento, who was, I think them and Sacramento both had losing records and actually played in the Western Conference Finals. They pushed a great Celtics team 6 games in 1981. He retired in 83. So he was a great baton twirler. He was a great basketball player. And he fathered 14 children by 9 different women.
Oh, my gosh.
So that means that, that means that he was a guy who wasn't afraid to take chances.
No, he was. And he's an active guy, I'll tell you that.
Yes, he is.
I did know about the free throw shooting prowess. I did not know anything. When you said baton twirling, I mean, I could have guessed anything but that, but that's really cool. And, he probably came from, like you said, he came from a big family of sisters and the baton and also the jump roping type activities.
Yeah, I remember seeing him jump rope too. He was a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
He was like Bo Jackson, but just with basketball, baton twirling, and rope skipping.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Some of the families, that culture, that's what they do. Especially with sisters. They do that quick, where it's like 2 or 3 ropes at one time, I forget what that's called. But
Yeah.
anyhow, I've seen that on TV before, and that culture, they really are into that, and so it's not surprising, but very interesting. And you know, Calvin Murphy, you mentioned about the shortest in the All-Star game. I was just wondering, did Spud? He wasn't.
He
He
was
was
just
taller
in a
than
dunk
Spud Webb.
contest.
Oh, okay. So Spud was just in the dunk. Okay, that's where I'm confused. I thought maybe he was in an All-Star game once.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also while he was at Niagara, I think he set the school record. He dropped like 68 points in one game.
Wow. So
And
Niagara is where he went to. Niagara
yeah,
is where he went.
yeah, so where he
Okay.
went to college, they were a D1 too. He still ranks third all time against D1 opponents for the 68 points. Also, he scored like 2,500 points in his career, and the thing that's amazing about that is that was when you had the freshman rule where freshmen weren't eligible to play. So he only got to play 3 years. It only took him 3 years to put up 2,500 points.
Wow. So he was allowed to just come down and jack up the shots,
Yeah, he was the best shooter
or
on the
drive to
team.
the
Why wouldn't he?
basket, get fouled, and
Yeah.
get fouled.
I mean,
and make
because
all the
he
free
was
throws.
5'9", but he only weighed like 165 also. So
I remember him having pretty thick muscles, though. He was well built, small guy though, right?
yeah,
Pretty
he was
compact.
one of the best defensive guards I think to ever played a game also. But
Yeah.
when you look at guys under 6 feet tall, the ones that stick out to me are him and Nate Tiny Archibald.
Right. Yeah.
The interesting thing is this. Tiny Archibald was, I think, the point guard on the 81 Celtics that won it all.
I think you're right.
And
So he would have
also,
gone against Houston.
huh?
In '81, they played Houston in the championship series,
Yeah,
right?
that was the Houston team that like had a
Right.
losing record in the regular season and then went on to
Right.
play the Celtics.
Well, that'd be interesting to see if we could look up a box score how those two fared.
How those two fared in what?
How
It was 4-2.
how they fared with their individual stats against each other.
I am looking right now. Let's see.
That's really interesting to me.
See, the whole key to that series was, I think, in the first two games at the Boston Garden, Houston lost game 1 by 3, and they won game 2. And then you went to game 3, and the Celtics blew them out. Game 4, the Rockets won a close one, and then game 5, the Celtics blew them out again. And then in game 6, the Celtics blew them out again. Let's see if we can find a box score here. Cedric Maxwell.
Hey, Mike, while you're looking for that, you live in Lawrenceburg. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say you're going to be able to go down the street and legally bet now, Mike. Did you hear what happened yesterday?
Yes, they passed sports gaming. I think we were the first Midwest state to do that, which is really shocking when you realize that up until last year, you couldn't buy beer on a Sunday in Indiana.
Well, there you go, Mike, and I'm really proud of Indiana for doing that. And
I know, because now you can get
that-
drunk on a Sunday and bet on a game and lose all your money. So it works out pretty good.
yeah, you can get drunk and bet the NFL. Heck, you guys
Yeah,
are way up
I
in the
mean,
world
hell.
now, Mike.
Yeah, that'll work out good for southeastern Indiana because you got to be drunk to bet on the Bengals, and that's who most people in this part of the state like. So, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for the casinos to have sports gaming in their casinos.
It won't take too long. It'll start out with, something that isn't as sophisticated, but it'll grow, and they'll have a couple nice sports books up and running. And
Well, see, they need to because in
And,
Lawrenceburg we've got a casino. There's also one in Rising Sun about 15 minutes away, and then a little bit farther south in VV, which is about a half hour away. So it seems to me like any of those three or all three of them should jump on that immediately.
no doubt, and they become the second state this year to legalize. Montana was the other this year so far that has done it, and there's about 8 others that are getting close. So, pretty soon we'll have half of the country, and then we'll get the other half. I'm in
Yeah.
California, so I'll probably be on the other half. But
Yeah, they're too busy trying to legalize everything else.
right,
So, all right,
So- Anyhow, Mike, that sounds good.
Okay, Bobby. We're going to wrap the show up for today at 11 o'clock tonight. Me and Jeremiah will be back with Inside Boxing Daily. Tomorrow at noon, me and Steve will be on with Sam McGinnis to talk about the top 10 most clutch shots or moments in sports history over the last 100 or so years. I'm sure Steve and Sam will have some weird takes that I'll shoot holes all over. Make sure you check out the Sheridan Report at Sheridan Report on Twitter or the SheridanReport.com on the internet. Also, go check out Phil Rankin's The Handicapping Guide, which is that THG on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's The Handicap Guider. I think HCP Guider. At HCP Guider.
Or let's just make it easier. Go to thegruelingtruth.com, go halfway down, and on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see THG horse whatever, betting or whatever, and you just click that, and it'll take you right to Phil, which he gives you $5 a day, gets you 4 tracks, all the races with the horses numbered with the top 7 horses, I think, in each race, or top 4, which will help you make a little bit of money if you want to bet the horses. But I think we're about done for now. Anything else, Bobby?
Speaking of $5, Mike, we started out our $5 one play on my website, thesheridanreport.com, and it's on the home page. There's a button right there. It says, and so today I gave you on air. I said, okay, the top baseball play was the Pirates, and then the top NBA play was the Blazers. So then I would take one of those two and make it the best play of the day. And you can buy that for $5. Now, your listeners have already pretty much got the information, but you can buy that for $5. And that on that button right now, when you click it, it'll show the Pirates at plus 130 as the single best bet on the card today. So, and that best bet, Mike, if you go out over a year, I've just been tracking over the last year or so, is 67%. We hit again last night with the Rockets plus 6, so we got the Pirates as today's best bet.
All right, Bobby. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I want to remind everybody you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Bobby Sheridan, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.